Hello and welcome to the campus of UW-Whitewater. I'm your host, Kyler Pfaff, and alongside me today is Lucas Jones. We ask you to please excuse our momentary interruption of sports from your regular daily schedule. Today we will be discussing the seconds in sports. Let's get right into it. In sports, we always talk about the greatest athletes of all time, but let's talk about the second greatest player of all time, starting with the point guard position in basketball. Who would you pick?
I would say the second best point guard of all time in basketball is Steph Curry. He's a two-time MVP, a four-time champion. He won his first finals MVP last year against the Celtics. The other three titles he won were against LeBron in the finals. All very impressive titles he's won, but we need to remember that KD needed to join them, a team that was already full of all-stars, to beat LeBron. I would argue Magic Johnson is the best. Changed the game as well. They both have changed the game a lot. Curry brought the three ball. He changed the NBA. Showed that all we need to do is shoot threes, and that's what a lot of the NBA teams do today.
For me, the second best point guard of all time is Magic Johnson. This has recently changed for me because ever since Steph Curry won that last championship, I think he finally surpassed him in the rankings. He has the same championships, but appearances is a little different with Magic having 9 appearances. He has 5 NBA championships and 3 finals MVPs. Magic Johnson brought the Showtime Lakers to the stage of the global stage, where he was able to involve his whole team, and he was just a good guy and good spirit to be around.
Another point guard you could talk about is John Stockton. He leads the NBA all-time in assists and steals. He played with the Jazz his whole career. He made it to 1 finals, lost to Jordan. Don't beat Jordan. I'm pretty sure he made 10 All-Star selections too. John Stockton was very good.
For another one, I would say Chris Paul. The only backlash that Chris Paul has is that he hasn't won a championship. And if you win a championship, that really solidifies your name in all over. Especially with the point guard position, they have the ball every single possession. And Chris Paul was the guy who gets everybody involved, the center, the power forward. He gets the big guys involved. Even when he was with the Clippers, he was able to get Blake Griffin and DeAndre Jordan, lobs. They were called Lob City for a reason. And he was the guy that really expressed himself as one of those top point guards ever.
Yeah, Chris Paul was really good, spending a lot of time in his career at the Rockets with James Harden. Unfortunately, they couldn't get it done in the playoffs. Harden kind of faltered, but they were a really good duo, and now he's with the Suns. They made the finals 2 years ago, but lost to the Bucks. They fell flat after going up 2-0, losing 4 straight. We'll see what happens with Chris Paul in his career this year with the Suns. They should be right in it again.
And then I would say Allen Iverson is definitely one of those point guards that you have to take a look at. The way he was able to just get away from everybody and use his athleticism as well as finishing abilities. I mean, for a guy that's only 6'2" or whatever, he was definitely bigger than he played. He was able to get multiple MVPs as well as multiple scoring titles. Next up, we will discuss who the second best outfielder of all time is. Stay tuned for more on UWW TV.
We'd love to show you what it's like to be a Warhawk.
Come on!
You gave that, right?
Don't miss out on your chance to be a Warhawk.
At UW-Whitewater.
You belong here!
For Hawk Talk, especially on days I'm hosting, you really need to be up early looking at those news stories, even the night before. I'm finding topics that I can incorporate in the show, and I feel like we get a conversation going.
Once you get the opportunity to do that with other people who appreciate it the same level as you do, it makes it that much more enjoyable.
For everything sports, tune in Monday through Thursday at 91.7 The Edge or watch us on UWW TV.
UW Whitewater Athletics, a relentless pursuit of excellence across 22 sports, powered by a tradition of success. 20 national championships, 17 since 2002. 61 individual national titles. 24 National Athletes of the Year. 616 All-Americans. 115 Conference Scholar Athletes of the Year. 1,500 community service hours annually. Be a part of the tradition and join the Warhawk family.
Here at UW Whitewater Intramural Sports, we have a motto: a sport for everyone and everyone in a sport.
Come on! That's it anyways. Oh, she got that. Oh, they're going to count it.
Had a blast. Always have fun at intramurals.
Every day we strive to go above and beyond that goal by providing healthy exercise, promoting leisure education, and giving students that competitive atmosphere they are looking for.
Yes! Yes!
It's exciting. Brings me back to those high school days with Friday Night Lights.
With our 25 different intramural sports offered, we guarantee that we have a sport for you. Go to our website and find your sport today.
Welcome back to Please Excuse Our Momentary Interruption of Sports from your regular daily schedule. Babe Ruth is on the Mount Rushmore of baseball outfielders, but who would you put next to him as the second best?
I would say Ted Williams. Ted Williams, for his career, ended up with over 2,600 hits, over 500 home runs. He batted .344. He was selected in 19 All-Star games and won the Triple Crown twice, which means he led the league in RBIs, home runs, and batting average, which is extremely tough to do. He also lost 5 years of his career due to serving in the military, so we could only imagine what his numbers would look like if he had gotten to play his 5 years in his prime.
Yeah, especially if it was in his prime. That is completely heartbreaking. For me, I would definitely choose Willie Mays. Willie Mays is probably one of the best defensive outfielders to ever play the game. He had 12 consecutive Gold Gloves, which is an accomplishment that I don't think anybody will come even close to. Willie Mays also had 13 consecutive seasons where he got 29 plus home runs. That is another amazing statistic, and it is pretty hard to do. But Willie Mays definitely has to be considered one of the best.
Willie Mays is definitely good, but Ted Williams is the last player in MLB history to hit for 400 in a season, and he did it twice, multiple times in his career actually. It just shows that he was the greatest hitter of all time, or one of the greatest hitters of all time for sure. We could also put Mike Trout up there next to Babe Ruth. He's a current player. Trout has health issues usually. Staying healthy is his problem, but if he stays healthy, I don't think there's a doubt in my mind that he would be right up there with Babe Ruth.
Yeah, another thing going off of Mike Trout, he doesn't have as good as a team surrounding him, so I feel like that definitely deteriorates his accomplishments. But I would also include Aaron Judge in this conversation. He just got over 60 plus home runs this year. He's just a behemoth. He's an amazing person on and off the field, so that's why I definitely consider him one of the best outfielders of all time.
Yeah, Judge coming onto the scene in 2017, I believe, took over the league to show off the power that he had. He's a little old, up there in age for someone that just got into the league. I believe it's his 4th or 5th season now. But for sure, he's shown that he can hit for the best of them. He should probably win MVP this year, in my opinion.
Yeah, and then of course you can always say Bryce Harper. Bryce Harper is one of those just absolute freaks of nature. He led his team to the World Series this year, and he's performing pretty well. So I would definitely want to consider him, depending on if he wins this World Series, that he would definitely be considered one of the best outfielders of all time. Let's transition to the National Football League. Obviously, there are so many great running backs in the history of the league. Who would you put at the top?
The greatest running back, I would say, is Barry Sanders. Spent his career with the Lions, made the Pro Bowl in every one of his seasons. He won an MVP. He rushed for over 1,500 yards for 4 consecutive seasons, which is he's the only running back to do that still to this day. And the only reason why he walked away was because he was on a bad Lions team for consecutive years. If he was on teams that won, he probably would have stayed in the league and would own a lot of the running back titles for records. Instead, he walked away because he was tired of losing.
And I tend to say this a lot. If Barry Sanders had Emmitt Smith's, offensive line, Barry Sanders would definitely be the greatest of all time. But just the way Barry could move, the way he could run, he was definitely something to watch. I personally would pick Walter Payton as the greatest of all time. I am also a Bears fan, so I'm a little biased towards this. But I feel that if Walter Payton had a couple more years, his career was cut short due to him getting cancer. But if he got a couple more years in him, I think he definitely would have surpassed Emmitt Smith for the most rushing yards. But Walter Payton also averaged more yards per carry than Emmitt Smith, and also more yards per game. Those are 2 accomplishments that make me believe that Walter Payton is the greatest running back of all time.
I agree with your point on if Barry had Emmitt Smith's O-line. Smith played with one of the greatest O-lines, or maybe the greatest O-line of all time, which had to do with a lot of his amazing numbers, but not taken away from how good he is. But another thing I'd like to talk about for running backs is the ability to catch the ball. For Barry had 352 receptions on his career for over 2,921 yards. That's an incredibly important ability for running backs to have in the game, either in the past and the present, to be able to catch the ball in the backfield and be able to make plays with their legs.
Yeah, I'd like to throw in Adrian Peterson, too. Adrian Peterson, in his prime, is considered one of the best players of all time. Adrian Peterson won an MVP in 2012, and he led his team to the playoffs where they unfortunately lost. And then the next 2 years later, he ended up getting hurt, which completely deteriorated his ability to play. But even a couple of years ago, he was able to bounce back and come and play for I think it was the Redskins, where he ended up doing pretty decent. And that's why I'd consider Adrian Peterson one of the best of all time as well.
For sure. I would argue that in today's game of running backs that we could see potentially be getting up there with all-time greats would be Derrick Henry. He's a very dominant force, he's huge, and he just beats down defenses with his legs. He's incredible, and he just put up 200, I think, over rushing yards this past week in NFL.
Yeah, and Derrick Henry is just a behemoth of a man. I personally think he shouldn't even be a running back. He's too big for everybody. Yeah. But I definitely view him as one of the best to go down in history, hopefully with his career popping off like it is now. Next, we will talk about the greatest college basketball player of all time. You're watching PEOMIOSFYRDS on UWW TV.
The UW Whitewater Bookstore is your one-stop shop for apparel, textbooks, and technology. Stop in for a wide selection of gifts from our alumni, family, and name brand sections. Need to purchase or rent a textbook? Head downstairs to Textbook Services. Check out our new custom shop and create personalized apparel for your organization. Need a charger, laptop, or headphones? Our new technology section has everything you might need. For more information and bookstore hours, visit uwwhitewaterbookstore.com.
Life is defined by moments. In those moments, student athletes at the University of Wisconsin-Whitewater shine. With world-class facilities and coaching staff, we set our Warhawk athletes up for success in the classroom, in the community, and in competition. Through our championship culture, we prepare you to make an impact in the future. Learn more about the Warhawk Athletics family at uwwsports.com.
For Hawk Talk, especially on days I'm hosting, you really need to be up early looking at those news stories. Even the night before, I'm finding topics that I can incorporate in the show, and I feel like we get a conversation going.
Once you get the opportunity to do that with other people who appreciate it the same level as you do, it makes it that much more enjoyable.
For everything sports, tune in Monday through Thursday at 91.7 The Edge or watch us on UWW TV.
The PB Poorman Pride Center is the place to go for LGBTQ+ resources, information, and community. Located in the Warhawk Connection Center, while there, you can meet people like Mia.
And I serve Impact as president this fall, as well as working for the Pride Center. Impact is our queer LGBTQ+ and ally organization on campus. We meet once a week, and we do a lot of social events as well as education events.
It feels like I'm way more accepted here than when I was in high school. It is like a really big family.
Along with acceptance, in the Pride Center you can find a little library, a clothing closet, and a satellite location of the Warhawk Food Pantry.
It just feels like a home to me. It feels like my home away from home, and there's such a community here that is so wonderful and full of joy.
For more information, follow the Pride Center on Instagram at UWW_PRC.
Welcome back to the show. Alongside Lucas Jones, I'm Kyler Pfaff. While numbers alone are easy ways to tell who the greatest NCAA basketball player is, we can't deny the fact that the clutch factor aspect to amateur players. Lucas, who do you think is the most clutch basketball player of all time?
For college basketball players of all time, I'm going to go with Steph Curry out of Davidson. He played 3 seasons there. His average is going up every season, 21 as a freshman, 25 as a sophomore, and 28 as a junior. In his final season, he was the NCAA's leading scorer, and he also threw in a 60-point game in there. He shot 42% from 3. It was 85 and 20. Once again, he started to revolutionize the game of basketball with his 3-point shooting. He's just one of the best. And in March Madness, came around, he averaged around 30 points a game. He had 30 in Georgetown, 33 against Wisconsin, and 25 in a close loss to Kansas.
Yeah, and another player I would say would be Lou Alcindor, better known as Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. During his playing days for UCLA, he led them to 3 consecutive national championships. That's very hard to do for any kind of sport, but Kareem had a different kind of factor to him. He was a team guy, and he was an athletic guy as well. He was able to shoot the ball very differently from others, and that's what made his skyhook an impossible move. He also won 3-time first-team All-American during his playing days, so every single year he played, he got first team. That just shows the level of greatness that he had. He was also the first player to win the Naismith Award. This is pretty remarkable, as this is now known as the Player of the Year. He also won the Oscar Robertson Award twice during his time at UCLA. And that's why with all those accolades, I just would say he's probably one of the best college basketball players of all time.
Another guy I'd like to talk about is Kemba Walker. Kemba Walker played for UConn, and he put on one of the greatest tourney runs of all time. He rattled off 11 straight in 2011 to win the national title. In those games, he would average well over 20 points in every game, taking down seeds that were above them to win the title, and he hit a lot of clutch shots down the stretch.
Yeah, and another person that's kind of underrated, I would say, is Christian Laettner. In 1992, when he was the only person who wasn't a pro, he was an amateur, and he played for the Dream Team. Even on the Dream Team, he didn't really play. He definitely made himself a name in the NBA, and definitely was able to make it to the league. When we come back, we'll present our final thoughts for this week's episode. Stay tuned.
What does it mean to be a Warhawk?
It means allowing myself to dream big and think outside the box.
Pushing the limits of what I think is possible.
Seeing ideas through from start to finish.
Collaborating with professors and peers.
And seizing opportunities in the community to put my knowledge to use.
I'm studying abroad,
learning another language,
and listening to the stories of others.
I'm making lifelong friends and fearlessly sharing my gifts with the world.
As a Warhawk, I stay balanced,
take great care of myself,
and get out of my comfort zone.
I refuse to let the past determine my future.
And I'm taking confident steps in the direction of my dreams.
Sometimes it doesn't make sense.
And other times it couldn't be more exciting.
But I will keep my goals in mind
and never quit.
Because
that's the Warhawk way.
For Hawk Talk, especially on days I'm hosting, you really need to be up early looking at those news stories. Even the night before, I'll be finding topics that I can incorporate in the show, and I feel like we get a conversation going.
Once you get the opportunity to do that with other people who appreciate it the same level as you do, it makes it that much more enjoyable.
For everything sports, tune in Monday through Thursday at 91.7 The Edge or watch us on UWW TV.
UW Whitewater Athletics, a relentless pursuit of excellence across 22 sports, powered by a tradition of success. 20 national championships, 17 since 2002. 61 individual national titles. 24 National Athletes of the Year. 616 All-Americans. 115 Conference Scholar Athletes of the Year. 1,500 community service hours annually. Be a part of the tradition and join the Warhawk family.
Welcome back to PEOMIOSFYRDS. Let's wrap it up by talking about our final thoughts from today's episode. Today, I feel that some people were definitely left out. I feel Bo Jackson definitely was one of the best running backs of all time. Just his athletic ability. I mean, he played baseball, he played football. He could lift a lot of weights. He was able to bench over 350 pounds as a running back, which is very impressive. And then squatting over 500 pounds, which is absolutely ridiculous. But I'd also like to throw in Eric Dickerson in there. Eric Dickerson was the first player to rush for 2,000 yards in a season. This was back in the 80s, which is a long time ago. But to me, I think it just shows the fact that, it was a tougher era because of the physicality standpoint. And Eric Dickerson should definitely be a part of that. And then for the point guards, I would like to throw in Isaiah Thomas. Isaiah Thomas is arguably one of the best all-around point guards in NBA history. And he was able to stop everybody on the defensive side of the ball and then go up and lay it up on the other side.
Yeah, a few guys I'd like to mention that I missed for baseball. Ken Griffey Jr. He played with most of his career with the Mariners and then played with Cincinnati at the end of his career. He had over 600 home runs. He had almost 3,000 hits, around 2,700 I think, and won 10 Gold Gloves. He's definitely an all-time great and a Hall of Famer for sure. And then for football, for running backs, LaDainian Tomlinson was really good, playing with the Chargers for his career. He was just a beast on the field, very elusive, made a lot of plays, and he was just great.
That will do it for us here tonight. Thank you for watching, and tune in next time to hear more hot takes all around the world of sports. This has been Please Excuse Our Momentary Interruption of Sports from your regular daily schedule on UWW TV.